I got into a car accident at the same time as my boyfriend's childhood sweetheart. My boyfriend, the head of orthopedics, brushed my hand away. Stop making a scene. Camila needs surgery immediately. So I was the one who deserved to die. On the day my skeleton was donated to my boyfriend's department, he sat in his office in a daze for an entire day and night. Later, the most gifted orthopedic director at Pucheong Hospital could never hold a scalpel again. Chapter 1. The lights in the ward flickered unsteadily. Through the blur, I saw someone in a white coat rush in anxiously. Director, the OR says there's one slot available. Who goes first? I reached out and tugged at the corner of Oliver's white coat. He turned his head as if frowning at me, but I couldn't see clearly. On the bed next to mine, Camila started sobbing again. Oliver, am I going to be disabled? Boo-hoo. Will this surgery leave a scar? Without hesitation, Oliver brushed my hand aside. Selena, you've only got a few cuts on your face and hands. Local anesthesia will handle it. Camila's fracture needs immediate surgery. Can you stop making a scene? My head was spinning. I watched him speak to Camila with gentle care. Yet he didn't even glance at me. I parted my lips weakly. I wanted to say, Oliver, I'm not making a scene. I really can't remember how Camila got hurt. I've never bullied Camila. Why won't you believe me? I can leave you on my own. I'm not that pathetic. Oliver, could you just look at me? Until he led the staff and wheeled Camila out of the ward. The transport bed rattled down the hospital corridor at dusk, the hollow echoes stabbing into my ears one after another. He never looked back. Beep. As the heart monitor flatlined, my soul began to rise. I saw a nurse calling for the on-duty doctor while pushing a crash cart toward my ward at a sprint. I felt a slight twinge of guilt. I'm sorry. I know death reports are really hard to write. Because of me, you'll have to write one more. I drifted upward and floated into the operating room. Oliver had just scrubbed in and was putting on his gloves. After arguing with Oliver for so many days, I finally had a chance to reassess my boyfriend of 7 years. To be fair, Oliver was strikingly handsome. Back in school, I was captivated by the sharp focus in his brows when he made the first incision during experiments. That was when I decided to pursue him. Who would have thought he had a childhood sweetheart? I followed behind him and poked his back. Actually, plenty of people were chasing me too. If you'd told me earlier, I wouldn't have insisted on being with you. Oliver couldn't hear me. He finished putting on his gloves, turned around, and walked straight through my soul, startling me. I was just about to snap at him, but I pursed my lips. Forget it. He can't hear me anyway. The lead-lined door was pushed open. A circulating nurse came in holding a phone. Director, downstairs says your department is resuscitating a patient. They're asking if you want to take a look. Oliver didn't even pause as he spun into his surgical gown. Let them handle it. Can't you see I'm already scrubbed in? I sighed. That's just how Oliver was. Nothing was more important than surgery. But today, I still suggest you go take a look. After all, the one being resuscitated is me, your girlfriend. I turned my head and suddenly felt uncertain when I saw Camila's face under the surgical frame. In Oliver's heart, who mattered more, the dead me or the living Camila? It was hard to say. Camila's fracture wasn't easy to fix. My resuscitation wasn't easy either. Just as Oliver frowned, piecing together bone fragments, the lead door was pushed open for the second time. Oliver, downstairs called. They want to borrow the anesthesiologist to intubate the patient in resuscitation. The operating room was also a place of human connections. For a doctor as skilled as Oliver, the anesthesiologist assigned to him was, of course, the best. Chapter 2. In my soul-wandering state, I guessed that I was probably beyond saving. That must be why they specifically requested the best anesthesiologist in the department for me. But Oliver refused again. I don't have the habit of changing anesthesiologists mid-surgery. Fine. Camila's surgery was the most important, more important than my life. I felt a little angry and made a face at Oliver. When the lead door was kicked open for the third time, Camila's surgery had already roughly taken shape. Oliver, they've been pressing for half an hour downstairs. They're asking if you still want to continue resuscitation. Oliver threw the drill onto the instrument cart and finally lost his temper. Do you people understand anything? It's already been half an hour. Go notify her parents and ask them whether to continue. If you want my opinion, I definitely wouldn't save her. I nodded in agreement. To terminate resuscitation, direct family members had to speak up. There was no point in the people downstairs asking Oliver. Half an hour had already passed. From a doctor's perspective, the chances of saving me were indeed slim. After all, other than close loved ones, who would exhaust everything just to pray for a miracle? Camila's surgery ended in the latter half of the night. For some reason, instead of following my corpse, I couldn't leave Oliver's side by more than 2 meters. He seemed to have completely forgotten me. He waited in the recovery room for 2 hours until Camila fully woke up before returning to the ward with her. Oliver personally carried Camila onto the bed and placed a pillow behind her. Only after waiting for the nurse to hang the phone did he look toward my bed. "Where's Selena?" The nurse froze for a moment, seemingly not expecting him to be so calm, and carefully chose her words. "Her mother took her away earlier tonight." Oliver nodded and said nothing more. After a while, I saw him walk to the window and unlock his phone. The contact on the call screen read, "Wife." He seemed hesitant. His well-defined fingers were just about to press the call button when Camila's voice came from behind him. Camila pinched her throat to sound weak, sitting pale-faced on the bed and nervously twisting her fingers. "Oliver, maybe you should call Selena." I believe she didn't know that just pushing me would injure me so badly. Oliver paused at her words. His gaze swept over Camila's leg, anger flickering in his eyes. Then he exited the call screen. He walked back to Camila's bedside, gently patted her head, his tone once again full of tenderness. "There's no need. You're so seriously injured. If we don't let her reflect for a couple of days, she won't know she was wrong." "What?" I was so angry I almost laughed. If I could touch Oliver, I would have kicked him twice. Wrong, wrong, wrong. What did I do wrong? When I saw Camila about to be hit by a motorcycle, I pushed her. That saved her life. Didn't he see my head hit the motorcycle and I suffered a brain hemorrhage? At the time, because of the brain injury, I couldn't remember. Now that I'm dead, I remember everything. But on second thought, I wilted again. Even if I had remembered back then, Oliver would never have believed me anyway. Oliver stayed in Camila's ward all the way until the next morning. When everyone saw him walk out of Camila's room to prepare for shift handover, they were clearly startled. After exchanging looks, the resident who was slightly closer to him cautiously spoke. "Oliver, your girlfriend, aren't you going back to see her?" Oliver waved his hand impatiently, as if unwilling to hear me mentioned. "It doesn't matter whether I go or not. It's nothing serious." Since Oliver had spoken, no one dared to say more. I only heard a female resident in training mutter behind him during rounds. I didn't expect it. "Oliver is that cold-hearted," I sneered beside them. Oliver was anything but cold-hearted. Chapter 3. The rounds finally reached Camila's ward. Oliver's expression relaxed noticeably. "I'll change this patient's dressing myself. A girl must not be left with scars." I looked at the girl who had complained earlier. She was already dumbfounded. See? He was always different when it came to Camila. When Mom called, Oliver was peeling an apple for Camila. Her voice came through the phone, sounding extremely exhausted. It made me very worried. "Oliver, won't you come see Selena?" Oliver put down the knife, sounding much more respectful. "Auntie, Camila's leg is still fractured. I can't leave right now." "You?" Mom's voice suddenly turned sharp. "Can't leave? Then do you know Selena was pregnant? She was carrying your child." Oliver's eyes widened, his grip tightening on the phone. Just as he was about to speak, Mom's voice broke into sobs. "Forget it. Why am I telling you this? She's gone anyway." "Oliver, just stay with your Camila. From now on, we won't have any contact." Mom hung up, and I was so anxious I wished I could dive into the phone. I didn't know how I left the hospital last night, but Mom must be heartbroken. I pressed Oliver's phone, trying to call back, only to pass through it again and again. Souls don't have tears. "Mom, please don't cry. I'm right here. Don't worry." Oliver just stood there, frozen, still holding the phone. I couldn't help punching and kicking him. "Oliver, are you useless? Call my mom back." "How is my mom? Go check on her." "What do you mean she's gone?" After muttering to himself, Oliver suddenly seemed to realize something. He rushed out of the ward and slammed his hand onto the desk in front of the doctor who had tried to save me last night. His voice trembling. Bruno, you were on duty last night. Did you handle Selina's injuries? Bruno looked up at Oliver's reddened eyes and froze. Oliver, I'm asking you, did she miscarry? Oliver's suddenly raised voice startled Bruno. Oliver, please accept our condolences. We only found out at the end that the patient was pregnant. Oliver staggered back as if all strength left his body. Suddenly, he tore off his white coat and turned to run outside. I kept urging him beside him. Hurry up! Faster! Go check on my mom. As the elevator arrived and I prepared to go in with him, Oliver suddenly stopped moving. Following his gaze, I saw Camila dragging her injured leg out of the ward at some point. Oh no, we're not getting into that elevator. Sure enough. The elevator doors closed and went down. Oliver turned back and carried Camila to the bed. Camila trembled in Oliver's arms, tears shimmering in her eyes. Oliver, did something happen to Selina? I'm sorry. I once saw her buying abortion pills. It's all my fault. If my leg hadn't been broken, I would have told you earlier. Camila kept talking, but Oliver froze. His eyes reddened. He sat stiffly beside the bed, covered his face for a long time, then said hoarsely, she didn't want my child. It has nothing to do with you. I watched Oliver looking like he was about to cry, yet all I felt was a cold laugh in my heart. With my medical background, Oliver only needed to think a little to know that if I wanted an abortion, I would have chosen a surgical procedure, not pills. So whatever Camila said, Oliver believed. That was why I could never win against her. I touched my flat belly, confirmed there was no such thing as a ghost fetus, and sighed. Chapter 4. This was my second pregnancy. The first time was when Oliver and I had just graduated and were looking for jobs. Back then, Oliver was overjoyed. He proposed to me without hesitation and said he would support me. But I relied on my youth and chose work over his pleas and aborted the child. Our marriage was postponed for many years because of it. Actually, I knew this was a knot in his heart, but I didn't regret it. If Oliver couldn't understand, that was his own problem. As for this second child, from beginning to end, I never felt its presence. Perhaps leaving was the best outcome. After all, judging from how Oliver and I had been lately, even if I were still alive, things might not have ended well. Oliver called me again. Of course, no one answered. He opened WeChat and sent a long voice message. Selina, no matter what you're making a fuss about, you shouldn't silently abort our child again. Come home before 8 p.m. tonight. I'm giving you one last chance to explain. This man could be so baffling sometimes. Give me a chance to explain? Hadn't Camila already made up a story for him? If I spoke, would he listen? Besides, I can't speak anymore. I felt a little dejected. After work, Oliver went to a cake shop and bought a strawberry cake. It was my favorite shop. Unfortunately, my favorite flavor was the limited edition mango one. He could never get it and always made me settle. He carried the box home, cooked red date porridge, and stewed bone soup. He sat at the dining table from afternoon until evening. I knew he was waiting for me. During the 3 years since Camila appeared, there were countless times I wished he would sit down and talk calmly with me like this. I never expected it would happen today, when we were separated by life and death. But after all, he was someone I had truly loved. I still felt a little heartache. I sat across from him. Oliver, forget it. You won't be able to wait for me. Of course. He couldn't hear me. He took out his phone again, nervously switching it on and off repeatedly. At 7:30, his phone rang. Oliver's eyes lit up when he saw it was a department call. Disappointment crossed his face, but he still answered. Oliver, bed 27 has a high fever and convulsions. Do you want to come take a look? Bed 27 was Camila. How could he not go? Without hesitation, he put on his coat and rushed back to the hospital. Camila did look pitiful, her cheeks flushed with fever. Oliver pressed his lips together as he checked her medication, adjusted the treatment plan, and personally handled everything, from pouring water to watching the foredrip. It reminded me of last year when I had appendicitis surgery and asked Oliver to stay with me. He said the hospital had caregivers and told me not to be so delicate. So Camila was his precious treasure, wasn't she? After waking up, Camila began crying again. Oliver, I'm sorry. I know you wanted to talk to Selena today. My body is just too useless. Oliver's fingers moved. Only then did he seem to remember the time. He hurriedly checked his phone. It was already past the agreed time. He hesitated, opened my WeChat, saw no messages, and frowned. The porridge is in the pot. The soup is in the thermos. And the cake is in the fridge. Don't eat too much. Rest well. I'll be back tomorrow morning. After saying that, he seemed to feel it wasn't appropriate and added another sentence. Camila can't be left alone here. I'm begging you. Selena, please stop being upset, okay? Chapter 5. I rolled my eyes. I never throw tantrums. As for who does, just go listen at the nurses' station. The nurses were already gathered there gossiping. Bed 27 finally calmed down. Before Oliver came, she was acting like she wanted to die. Now she knows how to pretend. See? Even outsiders knew. But Oliver couldn't see it. It had already been 3 days. Even the hospital leadership was ordering funeral wreaths for my funeral. When would Oliver realize that I was already dead? Watching Oliver finish work and fall asleep in the on-call room, I sighed even heavier. Thinking about it, ever since we started working, we spent less and less time together. Neurosurgery and orthopedics faced each other from different floors of the surgical building. We worked in the same hospital, yet we almost never met. Day shifts, night shifts, standby shifts, even when we rested at home. We only saw each other 2 or 3 times a week at most. Maybe that was also why we gradually drifted apart. Camila was a fly, but this egg of ours was already full of cracks. Today, the hospital leadership told Oliver to find time to go to the office building. It seemed they wanted to talk about receiving my skeleton. That was back when we had just graduated and gotten our licenses. To celebrate, Oliver and I went to do the full set of donation notarizations: blood donation, bone marrow donation, and body donation. If one day both of us died, his skull would be directed to the neurosurgery department I chose, and my skeleton would be directed to the orthopedics department he chose. To us fresh graduates, exchanging bones was both faith and love. I wandered around Oliver's office and chose a spot for myself, behind Oliver's desk, facing away from the sunlight, yet able to see people coming and going outside the office. It wouldn't be lonely, a rare good place. After waking up, Oliver glanced at his phone again, finally seeming to realize that not hearing from me for 3 days was too long and felt something was wrong. He called Bruno, the unlucky doctor who had tried to save me. Over again, hesitating, his conscience finally stirred and he asked about me. Selena, did she suffer that day? Bruno made a bitter face. After all, someone had died. Even if it wasn't his fault, he still felt guilty. She probably didn't suffer. It was quick. When we arrived, there was already not much we could do. I felt speechless. Didn't you know whether I suffered? With those huge wounds. You never asked back then. But Oliver still wasn't satisfied. What size absorbable sutures were used? Do you have photos of the skin closure? Bruno was stunned. They probably weren't absorbable. Photos? Haven't you seen her in person yet? A trace of awkwardness flashed across Oliver's face. Then he suddenly realized something was wrong and stood up abruptly. There were facial wounds. Why weren't absorbable sutures used? What if she's disfigured? Go prepare a kit right now. As he spoke, Oliver took out his phone and frantically opened my contact page. Before he could press call, Bruno spoke timidly. But our department has never done cosmetic suturing on a corpse before. The air seemed to freeze. Oliver slowly lifted his head. What did you say? A corpse? He looked utterly confused, pursed his lips stiffly, and forced a casual tone. You got it wrong, didn't you? I'm talking about Selena, my girlfriend, you know. The Selena who was admitted the same night as bed 27 and discharged at midnight. Bruno felt something was wrong but instinctively swallowed. Oliver, haven't we been talking about Selena all along? Your girlfriend, the Selena who passed away while you were operating on bed 27. Chapter 6. When Oliver arrived at the neurosurgery department, the hospital workers were taking down my photo. What are you doing? Oliver picked up my portrait from the ground, his eyes splitting with fury. Who told you to take down Selena's photo? The worker recognized Oliver. Oliver. This. Hearing the commotion, The head nurse of neurosurgery came out and told the worker to leave first. Oliver? Why are you shouting so loudly? Are you here to cause trouble? Oliver tried to force a polite smile, but it looked worse than crying. Head nurse. I came to find Selena. Could you ask her to come out for a moment? The head nurse glared at him fiercely. Oliver, are you that behind on the news? Don't you know our Selena has already? As she spoke, the head nurse wiped away her tears and snatched the photo from Oliver's hands. Our neurosurgery doctor's photo isn't something the golden hands of orthopedics need to handle. I originally wanted to cheer for the head nurse for not wasting all the milk tea I had bought her, but I also felt a little heartache. Don't cry for me if your eyes get red. You won't have the momentum to argue with the nursing department later. Oliver stared blankly as if he hadn't heard her. He muttered, Head nurse. Don't joke. I know Selena is angry with me. She's the type who loves to make a fuss. I should coax her more. With long strides, he walked into the department and reached the doctor's office in a few steps. Selena? Selena? Then he suddenly saw that my desk had been cleared. His face changed drastically. He grabbed the collar of the chubby doctor beside him, veins bulging as he clenched his teeth. Where are Selena's things? Why are they all gone? Luckily, the office was full of doctors. Seeing one of their own being bullied, even by someone as prestigious as Oliver, was unacceptable. Someone grabbed Oliver's arm and shoved him hard against the wall. Why are they gone? Don't you know? I heard from the anesthesiology department they called you 3 times and still couldn't pull you off the operating table. You're really dedicated to your job. Those who entered the hospital the same year as me wanted to tear Oliver apart. 2 patients admitted at the same time. One had a comminuted fracture and the other had external injuries. Does that make sense? Selena had such obvious symptoms of transient amnesia. Why didn't you suspect a brain hemorrhage and order a CT scan and send her back? Is orthopedics only capable of thinking about fractures? She was already an emergency and handed to you. The big expert. Look at what you wrote, multiple soft tissue contusions. If your department had no doctors or beds, you could have sent her back or we would have taken her. Our department has plenty of doctors to treat our own. This is medical malpractice. Santiago, who cared for me the most, came to the office after hearing the commotion. He looked around and asked everyone to sit down. Then he turned to Oliver and spoke politely. Oliver, I've already applied to seal Selena's medical records. If there are any problems, we'll review them slowly. Our department is small, so we won't see you out. Oliver was driven away in a daze. But who could be blamed? I told you I couldn't remember how I was injured. Yet you believed Camila and thought I was lying. I told you I was dizzy. Yet you told me not to pretend to be pitiful because Camila couldn't wait. In the end, I had no strength left and could only clutch your coat to beg for help. Yet you still said I was making a scene. Oliver, I had already reached the hospital. I should have received the most objective treatment. But because of your prejudice, treatment was delayed. You killed me. I finally saw Mom when Oliver was kneeling at my doorstep. Mom looked much better than I expected. And my younger sister had come home to stay with her. That was good. I felt relieved. Mom had always been soft-hearted. But even after Oliver knelt for an entire afternoon, her attitude did not soften at all. Even if you kneel here until you die, I will never let you see Selena. Chapter 7. My younger sister looked at Oliver with disgust. Don't you still have Camila? I heard she broke her leg. Instead of staying with your precious darling, why are you at my house? Oliver, you'd better pray I don't find out what that woman did to my sister. Otherwise, I won't let her go. At that moment, Camila called again. Oliver, my leg hurts so much. Can you come see me? I heard Sister Selena. My sister snatched the phone. Who are you calling, sister? You shameless woman? My sister only has one younger sister. Call her sister again and I'll tear your mouth apart. I gave my sister a ghostly hug. Don't be angry. Let's not bother with them. Your sister is doing fine now. My sister threw the phone back to Oliver and turned away with Mom. Oliver stayed bent over for a long time, bound to him. I grew impatient seeing him not move, so I leaned down to look. Tears were streaming down his face. Camila called again, cautiously. Oliver, who was that just now? She sounded so fierce. Oliver didn't answer Camila. Instead, in a hoarse voice, he asked, Camila, tell me, that day, Did Selena really push you down the stairs and deliberately injure you? Of course not, Camila said. Oliver, are you doubting me? How could I lie to you? Oliver hung up expressionlessly. He went to the place where the accident happened. Looking up, the traffic camera was right overhead. My car was hit. Oliver went to the traffic police brigade, using the excuse that his car had been hit. He entered the surveillance room, but he didn't expect my mom and sister to already be inside. Police officers stood behind them. They looked at Oliver with faint smiles. Looks like the day your car was hit is the same day Selena was injured. Mom and my sister were convinced I had been harmed, so they reported it to the police to find the truth. What was Oliver afraid of? Using a clumsy excuse just to steal a glance at the truth. Could I really have fallen to my death just to frame Camila? The footage rewound. Soon, everything became clear. Camila and I were standing by the roadside talking. A motorcycle rushed toward us. I pushed Camila away and was sent flying. I nodded and lifted my chin at Oliver. That's right, exactly like that. Camila came to explain her relationship with Oliver and asked me not to misunderstand. We argued for a long time and couldn't make things clear. Then the motorcycle came. If I hadn't pushed her, the one who died today might have been Camila. Oliver's face turned extremely ugly. Idiot! My sister cried as she cursed. I tried to wipe her tears but touched only air. It's okay, little sister. You're smarter than me. Take good care of Mom. Relieved that the truth was out, I turned to leave, but no one moved. The footage wasn't over. Camila stood up. What? Then what about her fracture? In the footage, the motorcycle turned back. The rider got off and said something to Camila. Then Camila walked to me and broke her own leg. A chill ran down my spine. What kind of monster is this? How is she more like a ghost than me? The rest was easy to guess. I woke up and saw Camila pretending to be unconscious and calling an ambulance. Because of my brain injury, I couldn't remember anything. Camila took the chance to accuse me, though I didn't believe I would push someone. My amnesia left me defenseless. Even in the ambulance, looking uninjured, Oliver treated me casually. Oliver's face turned pale. In his heart, Camila had always been the sweet little sister he needed to protect. Realizing she was a man-eating flower must have shaken him deeply. His voice hoarse, he bowed his head before Mom. Auntie, I will avenge Selena. Avenge? Chapter 8. Mom's gaze was icy, like a sharp blade piercing straight into Oliver. Who wants something as petty and filthy as revenge? My daughter will get a fair and just result, not something overturned by anyone's selfish motives. As she spoke, Mom and my sister turned and bowed to the police officers, tears shimmering in their eyes. The officers returned the gesture. They walked out together, leaving only Oliver standing alone in the shadows. When Camila was taken away by the police, her leg still hadn't healed. She cried and clutched Oliver's calf. But the police pried her hands away. Oliver, tell them I didn't do it. Don't you believe me anymore? Oliver's lips moved slightly, his eyes dark and unreadable. I tilted my head watching them, only regretting that I didn't have sunflower seeds and soda. Camila, when someone does something wrong, they must pay the price. There's surveillance footage. Oliver looked utterly exhausted. I could understand. Camila had been entrusted to him by his mother's best friend before she died. He had raised her like a little sister since childhood. Who would believe she was capable of such a thing? The moment the word surveillance came out, Camila's expression changed abruptly. She straightened her back, dropped the pitiful look, and wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes with her fingertip. Fine, then I won't bother pretending anymore. Olive, thank you for taking care of me. Goodbye. There was even a smile on her face as she got into the police car. Ignoring the hospital's warnings, Santiago gathered evidence, organized the logic, analyzed my medical record word by word, and finally handed everything to my mom. File a lawsuit. This is medical malpractice. If it had been even slightly later, or if Oliver had just checked my pupils and ordered a CT scan, I wouldn't even have needed a craniotomy. Just drilling a burr hole could have saved me. But Oliver violated a doctor's ethics and blindly believed Camila. In court, Oliver admitted all his mistakes. But the hospital didn't want to lose such a top expert. They hired the best lawyers. In the end, they paid a large sum in compensation and gave him a demotion as punishment. It was called a demotion, But everyone knew he was still the department's leader. Santiago spent an entire afternoon slamming the dean's desk, but he couldn't change the decision. When he came out, he saw Oliver standing at the door, the flesh on his round face trembling. Oliver, do you think you're the only one who can save people? Arcelina was also the most talented doctor. You let a neurosurgeon die from delayed rescue of a brain hemorrhage. Oliver looked much more haggard. Dark stubble covered his chin. His shirt hung loosely on him like he was just a wandering ghost. I know. His voice was so light it seemed to fall from the sky. So you'd better live up to the hospital protecting you, and live up to Selina's life. Santiago, almost at retirement age, gritted his teeth and cursed in a low voice. Watching him made my heart ache. Director, don't be sad. You've already done so much for me. It's just that I wasn't good enough and brought you shame. You'll have better juniors and students. Oliver's hands trembled slightly inside his sleeves, and he never lifted his head. Oliver somehow found a private detective. Surprisingly, the detective was truly capable. He sorted out everything between Camila and me over the past 3 years clearly and thoroughly. There were things even I didn't remember that the detective uncovered. From this mountain of evidence, even I had to admit Camila was persistent enough to break Oliver and me apart. Oliver applied for visitation. Through the glass window, he pressed the evidence sheets one by one against Camila's side. Camila, do you hate me that much? Camila had grown much thinner. There were still bruises on her face, and her expression looked extremely confused. I've never hated you. On the contrary, I wanted to marry you. If you must blame someone, blame Selina for blocking my path. Oliver's throat bobbed, veins bulging on his forehead, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. You still refuse to repent even now? I treated you so well. You hurt the person I loved most. How can you be so vicious? After being shouted at, Camila's face turned cold. She narrowed her eyes, her words sharper than knives. Who you like has nothing to do with me. I just wanted to marry you. I didn't say I liked you. Yes, I know you treated me well like a sister, but as a sister, would you buy me a house? A car? Designer bags and diamond rings? I'm fighting for my future. What kind of emotional bond do you think we had? Chapter 9. I didn't want my social status to drop after my mom died and be forced to marry someone of the same level. If there hadn't been no one else around, do you think I would have bothered to be a mistress? I lost the gamble with my life because I wasn't as capable, I admit it. I also admit I'm sorry to Selina. But you, eating from your bowl while eyeing the pot, always talking about love, love, love. Yet you fall the moment someone tempts you. Why did I happen to ruin you in particular? Why don't you reflect on that? Before being taken away by the prison guards, Camila looked at Oliver with pure contempt. Scumbag. We'll each get our own retribution. You'd better pray you die early, because Selina definitely won't wait for you on the road to the underworld. Ha, ha ha ha. Oliver collapsed into the chair, neither crying nor laughing, tears rolling down in large drops. It was the first time I had ever seen him so out of control. He staggered out of the detention center, covered his eyes under the sunlight, slowly crouched down, and called my mother. Auntie, please, tell me where Selina's grave is. I'll do anything you ask. In your dreams. My mother showed no mercy. Santiago originally wanted to take my skeleton back to our department, but directed donation couldn't be changed. Honestly, I didn't mind. It didn't matter where the donation went. Oliver didn't think so. He cleaned the spot he prepared for me at least 8 times with disinfectant. I never imagined that in my lifetime I'd see what my full skeleton looked like. The technician did a meticulous job. Even the damaged part of my skull was fixed neatly. I was quite satisfied. Except Oliver's gaze made my hair stand on end. He had truly gone mad. He even insisted on dressing my skeleton. No one in his department dared to stop him and just let him go crazy. Fortunately, he dressed me in a white coat. If it had been some colorful dress, I might have had to research how to resurrect and kill him. Oliver took out a diamond ring. Who knows when he bought it? Seeing him reach toward my skeletal hand, I prayed desperately, "Don't put it on. Don't put it on." Maybe the prayer worked. He actually stopped. Tears fell. "I'm sorry." He bent over as if in unbearable pain, fingers gripping the acrylic cover, a suppressed sound escaping his throat. So pitiful. But so what? I didn't understand what kind of deep love he was pretending now. Camila was hard to judge, but her understanding of Oliver was definitely higher than his own. He wanted everything, like that mango cake I always thought he could never buy. I had once seen it in Camila's hands. If I was never his first priority, what right did he have to call himself my lover? That's why belated affection is cheaper than grass. Day rose and night fell. Oliver sat facing me for an entire day and night, gaunt and haggard. If it weren't for the rise and fall of his breathing, I would have wondered which of us was the specimen. He was, after all, the top surgeon of orthopedics. When a car accident emergency patient was admitted, his colleagues nervously came to call him. Oliver, can you come perform the reduction surgery? Oliver seemed suddenly startled awake when he saw the scans. His hands trembled again. There was fear in his eyes. He scrubbed in, disinfected, dressed, and put on gloves. The sterile drapes were laid out. Oliver picked up the scalpel, but unlike his usual confidence, anxiety appeared on his face. Under the surgical lights, every shadow became stark. Oliver had already placed the scalpel on the incision membrane, yet he kept turning his head. His Adam's apple bobbed, cold sweat almost dripping onto the operating table. Oliver? Oliver? Someone seemed to be calling him, but everything before his eyes felt like terrifying monsters. Oliver could no longer bear it. He threw down the scalpel and rushed out of the operating room. I followed behind him, watching him collapse, as if witnessing the fall of a genius doctor. I knew, perhaps he would never stand at the operating table again. Chapter 10. The hospital valued Oliver extremely highly and specially arranged people to investigate the cause. In the end, they determined it was psychological. When I stand on the operating table holding a scalpel, I always think of the night Selena was being resuscitated. 3 times. Every time I could have saved her. It only needed a burr hole. I knew that. Why did I still let her die? In the end, I even personally said not to save her. No matter how slim the chance was, she still had hope. Doctor, if she knew, how much would she hate me? Actually, I don't hate you that much. I sighed. But saying it like this, he still couldn't hear me. Everyone knew Oliver was finished. What kind of orthopedic doctor is one who cannot hold a scalpel? The hospital once tried to transfer him to internal medicine to start over. He directly refused and insisted on guarding my skeleton. People came wave after wave to persuade him, and finally Santiago personally stepped in. You already caused an outstanding neurosurgeon to die. Are you going to ruin another orthopedic doctor too? Unless you can prove your value, why should the hospital keep you here? Oliver had no words to respond. He gritted his teeth and tried countless times. Yet all ended in failure. He seemed forever trapped in that day of choosing between 2 people, struggling left and right, with no way forward or back. I once fell in love at first sight with the sharpness in his eyes when he held a scalpel. Now there was only endless sorrow. In the end, he was transferred to a research position, because he accepted every arrangement except leaving orthopedics. Chapter 11. On the day he picked up the scalpel again to conduct experiments, I felt as if I saw the shadows of the past and the future overlap. At the very beginning of all entanglements, it turned out I was not without resentment or attachment. He seemed to sense something and looked in my direction. Selena, have you forgiven me? How could I? As I traced his features, he felt like a stranger. I will never forgive you. Please live on in guilt. Oliver, I'm leaving. On the road to the underworld. I will never wait for you.